Long-term impact is not known. The short-term impact certainly has been felt. A lot of outrage of all this. We're going to bring back in our guest to continue this conversation. Sticking around for more of this is former Senator George LeMieux and also former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra, who's joining us on the phone. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to everybody. It's great to have you all here.
Great, thank you.
All right, well, Pete, we'll start with you. Yesterday we had this internet outage in North Korea, the State Department being kind of coy about the whole situation here. Any doubt in your mind that the U.S. government was behind this internet outage yesterday?
Oh, yeah. I think that it's very possible that this was just a sophisticated group of hackers. I actually think that if the United States government did an attack, it wouldn't be as public and it might be much more damaging to North Korea than this public attack of just denying service for about 9 to 10 hours.
Now, George, you and Pete both have served in Congress. One of the topics of debate that hasn't had a lot of success up to this point is a cybersecurity bill. It got very close to passing a couple of years ago, and then it suddenly died. There's a bill, I think, in the House of Representatives right now. Some folks say this might be the catalyst for actually pushing something like this through Washington. What's your take?
I think we have to do everything we can to be protected on the cyber war front. When I was on the Armed Services Committee, we stood up a cyber war command that's in the military, where you have a 4-star officer of the military, just like you would in any other kind of combatant command. These threats are very dangerous. It's not just hacking into Sony, which is criminal and violates our values as Americans, since this movie just hacking into Sony, which is criminal and violates our values as Americans, since this movie now has not been released. But it's also, Chinese interest hacking into military contractors in this country and stealing the designs for our aircraft, the F-35 and others, and then building those planes. To me, those are very close to acts of war. And we have to do everything we can to be vigilant to protect against the efforts of rogue countries, as well as some of these larger countries like China.
Pete, what should we be doing?
Was that to me? I'm sorry.
Yes, that's to you.
Yeah.
What should we be doing to protect ourselves from future cyber attacks?
Well, number one, we have to recognize this is not a new phenomenon. As the Senator and I both know, I mean, these kinds of attacks have been going on for an extended period of time, and there have been a number of successful attacks either against the private sector or against the government sector. And so this attack against Sony just happens to be the most public attack, but this has been something that's been well known by the government and the private sector for quite some time. What we need to do is we need to develop a level of cooperation between government and the private sector to build the defensive systems and put them in place so that we better protect our government assets and our private sector assets. There are a lot of crucial installations that are still vulnerable, whether it's nuclear power plants, whether it's private, whether it's the financial systems and those types of things. There could be something much more dangerous looming on the horizon if we don't get our act together. The third thing that we need to be able to do is to start and be prepared to retaliate and put the fear into any country that says if you attack
let me ask you about that right
you're
there.
going to be in big trouble.
Well, Pete, we were just talking with Elliott Abrams earlier about the fact, and this has been done in the past, that the United States could very quickly, the president, through the Treasury Department, could just simply put some sanctions in place to impact Kim Jong-un's money with banks, foreign banks that still do business with him, and he hasn't done that yet. Why not?
I'm not sure why the president hasn't acted, but the president should be using all of his tools, which include sanctions, but also acting in cyberspace, and making these people pay a real price for attacking the U.S. economy and U.S. business interests.
Do you think, Pete, there's been speculation that other countries may be involved? I want to also direct that question to you, George. We only have a few seconds. Do you think other countries could be involved? There's some speculation that Iran, Russia, China may have also been involved.
I'm not sure with this attack, this Sony attack, but we know that hackers in Russia have been responsible for a lot of the attacks on the banks. The Chinese state-sponsored, and actually the U.S. government has put a number of Chinese officials on a arrest list for their actions in cyber espionage. So yeah, the rogue countries of the world are very much involved in this. Why? When they could steal all of the know-how, good work that's been done in this country over years and just steal it for free and then replicate it, it's very dangerous. And I agree with the congressman, we need to do everything we can to protect against it.
Yeah, if we don't send a strong response now to these rogue nations, I don't think North Korea carried this thing out on itself, by itself.
Right.
It doesn't have the capabilities to do.
Well, Pete, it doesn't seem that way. We're going to have to run. We're out of time, but we thank you for joining us, Pete Hoekstra. Always great to talk to you, and happy holidays to everybody.